Davi here, and today we have a new episode in the Art of Davi channel. And today we'll talk about, well, the thing I've been doing recently is kind of by accident, actually, but I think this goes with the goal I was striving for a few days ago. I think let me just check the video on. I think it was on the Let's Go One More Week to 2024 video. So 4 days ago, I did this video on, trying to make the last week of 2023 somewhat productive. So I kind of thought maybe I should challenge myself by doing something to kind of make up for lost time this year. Now, obviously, you can't do much within a week, but I think I figured out some kind of challenge that I can, or not really a challenge, but something that I can focus on in this last week of 2023. And it's not just about trying to make up, but I'm also trying to work in advance. Like, I don't have to start working on my craft when it's the new year. I can start before that. I can start anytime. So I think this is a great way to, or this is a good opportunity for you to go for it and try something new. So for me in this case, I think I tried doing a study of, because I have this big pure reference file of Evangelion references, obviously. And the reason why, because the film or the series, the IP or the intellectual property or the idea of the Evangelion world is very interesting to me, and I just like the way the mechs are done. It has a creature-like vibe to it. It's humanoid. Sometimes it does act like an animal. So it's kind of this weird, like it fits a lot of boxes. It's kind of a creature. It's kind of a mech. It has a humanoid proportion to it. So it can help with my human anatomy, human proportion. So it tackles, or it tickles a lot of my my sensibilities. So I think that's why I'm very attracted to, obviously, the storyline of the Evangelion series. Even though I don't fully get the the story, it's still somewhat interesting to me. And I feel like rewatching the movies again just because it's very nice to look at. And yeah, so I decided to do this Lasso fill study in Clip Studio Paint. And it's actually one of the reasons why I think Clip Studio Paint has an advantage, or it's one of the perks of having Clip Studio Paint. It's the Lasso fill concept. Now, Photoshop does have this, but you have to download an extension or plugin. I will link the link in the description below. I did talk about this in a past video, but I'll link this program, this extension I'll link it in the description below. Now, I did try that version in Photoshop. However, I do notice it is somewhat slow, or there's a bit of a lag whenever you're done looping something or creating a selection. There's like a slight delay. It's not as fast, I feel, compared to the Lasso fill tool in Clip Studio Paint. And I do recommend trying this tool out. In a way, you're kind of drawing, but it's very different because you're not drawing the outline necessarily. You're trying to focus, or it incentivizes, or it encourages you rather to focus more on the shapes. And I think it's a very different way of illustrating or doing studies, but I think it can help you. And I think I've slowly but surely have become somewhat of an advocate for it, because the actual end results, it's not that bad. Like, there's so much you can do with the tool. Like, you can mix it obviously with painting within it, with an actual brush, or with doing some gradients. Like, there's so much to the tool that I myself haven't even fully really understand, because obviously I'm just starting out with trying out this Lasso fill thing. But yeah, I think this is something that I can stick to or really work on. I have a subject that I can study, so obviously in this case it's Evangelion, mainly the mechs. I can obviously do like the actual characters, like I'm forgetting the name, but the main characters in this show. Sure, I can do that, but right now I do have a big reference file of Evangelion mechs, so I'll start with that. So I do have a subject, but I also have a methodology And in this case, it's going to be using the lasso fill tool mainly. It's going to be my main illustrative tool. So I'll try to avoid using the pencil brush tools, like the mixer brush or blending tools. I want to focus more on using this lasso fill tool. Now maybe I may paint within the shapes, so that can happen too, but I think limiting your tool sets is a great way to help you focus more on the actual subject matter. Because if you have so many techniques to use, you'll end up getting lost, I think. And that's, I think, a bad habit that I've developed. Even when it comes to brushes, I have so many brushes that I end up not using most of it because I kind of, I overthink like which brush should I use and stuff like that. So I think it can be a waste of time. So by simplifying your tool set, in this case for me, it's going to be the lasso fill tool. I think it's going to help me study, and I can study the subject even more. And I think by using this tool, or by limiting myself to a few tools, I'm going to develop a sense of, not a sense of, but I'm going to develop a creative way of using those tools. Because given that I'm limited by those tools, I'm going to end up being somewhat resourceful when it comes to them. So for the lasso fill, I think it has a lot of potential, especially when doing studies. If you're trying to struggle with your shape designs, I think the lasso fill is a great way to, because instead of like drawing the actual outline of the shapes, because it does take a while, you can just use the lasso fill tool, because you can fill in a large area quickly, and you can also make some selections within the main silhouette. So as I use this tool, I'm going to develop a way of working, a system of creating my studies or illustrations. And I think once I've gotten a good amount of experience with this type of methodology, I think I can share them in this channel, like do a tutorial on like what's my process, or how do I break things down, like what are the tools that I use along with the lasso fill tool. So that's something that you can look forward to. And also, obviously, I'm going to look forward to it because I haven't gotten to that level yet. So, I think I do need to set a limit in terms of the amount of studies I'm going to do. So I do have a subject, Evangelion. I do have a methodology or a process, a basic process. And in this case, again, the lasso fill tool. But how many studies will I be making? Should I stop within the year, like in the New Year's? Who knows? Because there's like a few days left. We have like 2-3 days before 2024 comes, so it's pretty close. I'm not sure if I can do like 100 studies, but I do want to really do a lot, because it's only by doing a lot that you can really get a good grasp of the thing. So if I do like 50-100 studies of these Evangelion mechs, not only will I have a good grasp of the lasso fill tool, along with accessory techniques, along with the lasso fill tool, like gradients and using the soft brush for some, because there's also a gradient tool in Clip Studio Paint, so I can use that. I can also use like a classic airbrush, and so yeah, aside from having a good grasp of the tool, also the subject matter. In the end, the idea is, or what I think might happen is, I'm going to have a better understanding of drawing mechs, obviously with that Evangelion look, and learning a bit more about proportions, because it's very humanoid, and it can help me, I guess, with my human anatomy, with my posing, because I do have a lot of interesting images here in my pure reference file. It's a pretty big file, so I do recommend you do download a lot of references of your subject of choice before you do this. If you're trying to do what I do or what I'm doing, you need to have a good bulk of references of one subject. I do recommend you limit yourself to just one subject. So pick an anime, maybe you like a certain kind of anime, some kind of specific world, maybe you're basing it off of a game or something, who knows, it's up to you. But try to limit your reference scope or your subject of study or of choice to just one major thing. And so you need that before doing anything else. So yeah, make sure you do have these references beforehand, a good amount of them, so you can just focus on doing the studies after. Because you do have this habit, or I have this habit of sometimes I'll find a reference. If I'm even slightly not satisfied, I'll eventually go online and then I'll try to find a new reference. But in that process, I do get somewhat distracted with more photos, more images, and I just end up wasting time. So I think it's good to do all of this beforehand, do a bulk download of all of your favorite reference photos, and once you're done, do your studies. Pick a methodology. You can stick to maybe a system of using one brush, maybe the basic round brush. You could focus more on, maybe you're trying to work on your line work, so maybe don't use anything else but a small, like a 1, 2, 3 point size brush, and that can encourage you to focus more on line work. I know people sometimes turn off their pen pressure, so they don't have to worry about the thickness of the lines, and they can just focus more on the major proportions and shapes, and that can help you too, or that might help you. And obviously, I think the Lasso fill tool needs a bit more love, and I think it should be used more. Not should, but I think it has a lot of potential. And maybe if you're struggling with your own art, maybe you need a break, in the sense that you may need to change the way you do your studies or illustrations. So I do recommend trying out the Lasso fill tool in terms of methodology. Yeah, I think this is a great way to for me to spend my or I can see it in two ways. Spend my last week of 2023, or I can see it that way, or I can see it as me starting 2024 in advance. So try to find a subject that you want to learn, pick a methodology, and set a limit for the amount of, maybe your idea is do as much as you can within a week, maybe, or you can think about it in terms of output. For me, I think I want to do, 50, because I feel like 50 is like a lot. But it's like 100 sounds good, but it feels like too much for me. And I've also noticed, based on in my recent studies, because right now in this recording I've only done 2. It took about 30 minutes, and whenever I start to render within the shapes, when I do use the brush tool, it starts to go beyond 30 minutes. So if I just stick to the Lasso tool and focus more on the major shapes and major design kind of landmarks or elements, it takes about 30 minutes. I can only do a few of these a day. Obviously, if I'm going to spend the whole day on this, I can do maybe 10, who knows, or 20 if I'm hardcore. But we also want to think of sustainability, because I don't think, like, if you do this in one go, can you really grasp the information? I'm kind of doubting that. So I think doing this in a more sustainable manner, maybe doing just one study a day, if you're trying to do this as a start. You can always ramp things up and speed things up as you go. But for me, I think I'll set a bare minimum. Once a day, at least one 30-minute study of this subject. And when it comes to the overall limit, maybe I'll stop at 100. Now, obviously, I won't be able to go beyond or do this within the next 3 days, because it's a lot of work and it's a lot of time. So this is going to go beyond, it's going to go ahead in 2024. But I think it's a good kind of big, somewhat. Oh, it's somewhat of a big goal. So I think that's going to be my limit. And the hope is, by the time I do that 100 or these 100 studies of this subject matter, I'll gain knowledge of the subject, Evangelion. I'll gain knowledge of the tool, or the drawing illustration techniques, Lasso fill and such. And yeah, those are my 2 hopeful gains and rewards from doing this challenge. So hopefully, maybe I've inspired you in some way to try this out, or maybe, yeah, if you're interested anyway in trying to do this, or maybe you feel like you're not improving, or maybe you feel like you're lost, because sometimes I do feel lost. Like, what subject do I do? What should I focus on? because there's so many kinds of artwork out there with different types of themes and subject matters, topics. Should you focus on environments? Should you do characters, creatures, mechs? Should you focus on like storytelling, narrative art, sequential art? Should you do maybe cinematic illustration or keyframe art? Should you do 2D, 3D? Like there's so many ways to do art. I think if you just need something to do to make sure your hand is still moving, because if you don't draw for like a week, you will notice kind of a lag in your performance. So this is a great way to also be active. Doing some kind of daily study, I think, can help you just stay sharp. It keeps you sharp, it keeps you lean, and it keeps you kind of in the zone. So whenever you do have to jump in and do, say, a longer illustration, painting that takes maybe 5-6 hours, you're not going to be as like shocked because you're always kind of daily in the grind, right? And obviously over time, you won't notice this, but after you've done, say, 50, 100 of these, or maybe 25, eventually you're going to gain something. You're going to learn a bit more about the subject matter you're studying, and obviously you're going to gain a better understanding of your own process, whether it be on Photoshop or in Clip Studio Paint, or maybe whatever program you're using, like Procreate, Krita, Blender, ZBrush, whatever your medium is. Just by doing this kind of exercise, I think you're going to gain a lot. So I do recommend this exercise, and hopefully we we gain something from this. And I really do want to share what I've gained and learned from this journey of mine in the future. So maybe I do want to do 100 just because it sounds good and sounds epic, but we'll see. So hopefully this video helps you in some way, and I'll see you in the next one. Keep drawing, keep painting, and stay free.